Okay, a general principle. Scholars are asked, how do you make tadabbur of the Quran? Reflection of the Quran. How are you able to unlock, quote unquote, the deeper meanings of the Quran? Allah said in Surah Muhammad, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. Do they not ponder and reflect over the Quran, or are there chains on their hearts? Are their hearts locked up? So how can you unlock your heart so that you can reflect over the Quran? They say the first thing is that you must understand the meaning and tafsir of the verses. Once you understand the vocabulary, strange words, and the tafsir, the understanding, the proper understanding of the verses, after that, that's when you're able to unlock the deeper meanings of those verses. Okay, tadabbur can only happen once you have knowledge of those verses. And this is one of the reasons why we begin vocabulary. Okay, we begin with vocabulary and the tafsir so that we can understand what each verse is saying. Now we could just look at the Arabic and we can have a general sense, a general idea of what each word means and what the sentences are saying, the ayat or ayi are saying. طيب. From there, the more time we spend pondering and reflecting over these verses, that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bestow on whoever He wills additional knowledge. So that's the vocabulary, and that's why we go vocabulary first. Any question regarding this section? Yes, tabsira is for the jahil, and dhikra is for the alim. However, the alim, he forgot. It's a reminder. Let's now move on to the grammar portion of today's lesson. Make sure you renew your intentions and ask Allah Azza wa Jalla for help. طيب, as for the grammar, here we have harf al-qasam. Now, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He swears by the Quran. We know that Rabbuna Azza wa Jalla is able to swear by anything He wishes, right? Because He's the Khaliq. As for us, mankind, we can only swear by Allah. طيب. So, whenever there is a phrase where there's an oath being made, then there are four things that you should try to understand. The first is the muqsim. Muqsim refers to the one who's making the oath. The adatul qasam, the tool that's being used in order to make the oath. The muqsam bihi, the object or thing that's being sworn on. And the jawab al-qasam, the response to the oath. All right? So muqsim, when Allah says wal Qur'an al-Majid, who is the muqsim? Allah, of course, He's the one making the oath. Like, there's a bit of a delay between the chat and when we're speaking. What is the adat al-qasam? It is the wow, of course. Okay. What is the muqsam bihi? Yani, what is Allah swearing on or making an oath on? He says by the honored Quran. Yani, wal Quran al-Majid. طيب, this is the muqsam bihi. Where is the jawab al-qasam? This is the question here. Where is the response to the oath? طيب, before we answer that question, sometimes jawab al-qasam can be expressed via clear wordings. You can identify the jawab al-qasam via clear wordings or through yani it's not clear, you can't see it, but it's intended. All right. Examples of when the jawab al-qasam is expressed via clear wording, when you can clearly see it. Here in Surah Yasin, Allah says, Yasin wal Quran al-Hakim, innaka min al-mursalin. Yasin, by the Quran, full of wisdom, meaning full of laws, evidences, and proofs. Truly, you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, are one of them. Muqsim, of course, Allah. Adat al-qasam, the wow. طيب. Muqsam bihi, al-Quran al-Hakim. Sah? Jawab al-qasam, here, what is the response to the oath? You, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, are one of the messengers. Innaka la min al-mursalin. This is jawab al-qasam. You can clearly see it. Allah swears by the Quran, He, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is among the messengers. طيب. Another example. Surah Al-Layl. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى. Allah swears by the night as it envelops, and by the day as it appears in brightness, and by Him who created male and female. Certainly your efforts and deeds are diverse, different in aims and purposes. Muqsam, of course, is Allah. Adatul Qasam, harf waw. Muqsam bihi, what does Allah swear by? وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى. Allah swears by these four things: the night, the day, male, female. Yani the one who created, yani it's the third. وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى. Right, this is considered to be one in of itself. طيب, where is Jawab al-Qasam? The Jawab al-Qasam is إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى. Certainly your efforts and deeds are diverse. Okay? This is the response to the Qasam. And know that there will always be, or for the most part, there will always be a connection between the Muqsam bihi and a Jawab al-Qasam, right? When you look at the Muqsam bihi, Allah swearing by night and day, they're opposites to one another. Likewise, Allah swears by the one who created Dhakar wa Untha. Dhakar wa Untha, opposites to one another. Likewise, Jawab al-Qasam, good deeds are opposite to each other as well. You have good deeds that lead to Jannah, bad deeds that lead to the fire. Okay? So that's the connection between these two parts, the Muqsam bihi and Jawab al-Qasam. Another example, last example, we'll take a look at وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا فَأَثَرْنَ بِهِ نَقْعًا فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٌ. By the steeds that run with panting breath, striking sparks of fire out of their hooves, and soaring to the raid at dawn, and raise the dust in clouds, the while penetrating forthwith as one into the midst of the foe. Verily man, disbeliever, is ungrateful to his Lord. Muqsim, of course, Allah. Adatul Qasam is the harf waw. Muqsam bihi, Allah is swearing by Adiyat Dabha, and the rest is a description of that Adiyat. Okay? Where is the Jawab al-Qasam? The response to the Qasam. Inna al-insana li rabbihi lakanud. You can clearly see it here. What is the relationship between the Muqsam bihi and the Jawab al-Qasam? Well, if you look at the Muqsam bihi, Allah swears by the steed that runs with panting breath, right? Speaking about the steed that is rushing forth into a battle. And if you think about the relationship between a steed or a horse and its rider, you think about how the rider cultivated the horse, fed the horse, breed the horse, took care of the horse, washed the horse, cleaned the horse, trained the horse, etc. It took care of the horse, it cultivated the horse. So as a means of gratitude, when the rider wants the horse to charge full force into the battlefield, you'll find the horse doing so, because the horse is doing it out of a gratefulness. And this is the person who took care of me. So I'm going to charge into the battle without fearing of being killed or hurt or whatever. All right, as a form of gratitude. But then if you think about the relationship between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and mankind, Allah grants more to mankind than what the rider does to the horse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cultivates us, of course, but He also gave us eyesight. He gave us the ability to hear. He gave us the ability to walk. He is the one who created us. He is the one who sustains us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does more for mankind than what that rider does for the horse. Yet, you find that people, inna al-insana li rabbihi lakanud, that people are extremely ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. بِخِلَافِ الْفَرَسِ, as opposed to the horse. طيب. So this is the relationship between the Muqsam bihi and the Jawab al-Qasam. And this is the instance where the Jawab al-Qasam is clearly mentioned. This is the first type. The second type is when the Jawab al-Qasam is not mentioned, but rather it's intended. So when you think about this part of the verse, Qaaf wal Quran Majid, the Jawab al-Qasam is not mentioned. The Jawab al-Qasam is not mentioned. Rather, Ibn Kathir, he says that the jam is intended. It's hidden, but it's intended. He says that the response is a speech made after the oath. That is the establishment and affirmation of prophethood and resurrection. So basically what he's saying here is that Allah makes an oath by the Quran that he surely did send Prophet Muhammad with the message of Islam, and that also the resurrection will certainly occur. So here the Jawab al-Qasam is hidden, it's intended. And this is the second type. So whenever you come across an oath, try to figure out where is Jawab al-Qasam. Is it clearly mentioned, or is it what? Intended. So that's the first rule I want to take a look at. The second rule I want to take a look at is regarding bal. Bal, if you look at i'rab, they say it's harfun atf wa idrab. Harfu atf wa idrab. Yani, what is idrab? What is the meaning of this sentence? Bal idrabiyya. Idrab linguistically means to reject or turn away from. Okay? And there are two types. You have idrab ibtali. This is where the previous speech is rejected. So bal falls in between two sentences. What it does here is reject the previous sentence, and whatever comes after it, it affirms. So for example, the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَمْ يَقُولُونَ بِهِ جِنَّةٌ بَلْ جَاءَهُمْ بِالْحَقِّ وَأَكْثَرُهُمْ لِلْحَقِّ كَارِهُونَ. Bal is placed right here. صح? What this bal idrab ibtaliya is going to do, reject this statement, right? Meaning that this statement is false. Yani, or they say, is there, or there is madness in him. Yani, this is incorrect. It's not true. The bal here is rejecting it. Then you'll find that the bal, the statement that comes after it, is the true statement. Yani, nay, but he brought them the truth, tawheed, but most of them, disbelievers, are adverse to the truth. Okay? It affirms this and negates. Okay, and the affirmation, of course, has the correct meaning statement. This is called idrab. This is the first type of idrab, bal. The second type of idrab is what is known as intiqali. This is not connected to the meaning of rejection or affirming. Rather, yani, here we wrote, there is no rejection of the previous speech. Okay, unlike the first type. But rather, it's simply moving from one topic to another. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. Right, you look at bal here. It is not rejecting the previous speech, nor is it necessarily affirming the, using the speech that follows it as the correct idea of what precedes it. La. What it simply is doing here is moving from one topic to another. He has certainly succeeded who purifies himself and mentions the name of his Lord in praise, but you prefer the worldly life. All right, this is known as intiqali. There's no rejection or affirmation. So now that we understand what is intiqali, what is ibtali, what type of bal do we have in these two verses? Verse number 2 and verse number 5. Bismillah. Is the bal here intiqali, or ibtali. Person says ibtali. Anyone else? Another person says ibtali. طيب. Ibtali. We'll do inshallah ta'ala. We'll make this a homework. Reflect over these verses. If it's ibtali, I want you guys to reflect. What is it negating? طيب. If it's intiqal, what is it moving from? This will be for homework. And it will also be a means of reflecting over the Quran. Inshallah ta'ala. Next rule we have is an. This rule is an harf al nasb masdar. This is masdariya. Basically what it means here, you see how you have al-ajib ja'ahum. An is masdariya, meaning that you can replace the an verb with its masdar. Okay, the verb along with the an with the masdar. You can say bal ajibu maji. And of course the meanings will change slightly. Next, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَعِندَنَا كِتَابٌ حَفِيظٌ. Take a look at the i'rab. وَعِندَنَا is khabar muqaddam. Kitabun mubtada muakhara. We know that whenever the mubtada is delayed and it comes after the khabar, which is brought forth, then that's a form of emphasis, right? The original statement should be وَكِتَابٌ حَفِيظٌ عِندَنَا. This is the original statement. But what happens is that عندنا is brought before kitabun hafiz. Thus, this is a form of tawqeed in the Arabic language, emphasis. The meaning is, and certainly there is with us a book preserved. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَوْقَهُمْ كَيْفَ بَنَيْنَاهَا وَزَيَّنَّاهَا وَمَا لَهَا مِنْ فُرُوجٍ. Here the min, or rather first the waw. The waw is known as haliya, which describes the condition of the heaven as it was banayna, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it. All right? It describes its condition, thus known as waw al-haliya. طيب. As for min, then min, if you look at i'rab, it says here harfun jar za'id. What's intended here by za'id is not what some people believe, yani it's just an extra letter. As we mentioned earlier, in regards to our discussion regarding Qaaf, there's no word in the Quran that's considered to be za'id with the meaning of it's just an extra letter without any meaning behind it. That's impossible because Allah says bilisan al-arabin mubin, that the Quran was revealed in a clear Arabic tongue. So therefore every single word has to have a meaning. Understand? So when the nuha, when they say and refer to words and letters as za'id, what they intend is that it provides an additional meaning, and that additional meaning is for tawqeed, emphasis. So when he says here, min furuj, what's intended is there are absolutely no rifts. No matter how many times you look at the sky, okay, and you observe it and try to, look for rifts, you will never ever be able to see it. Not even one. And that's the meaning that we benefit from the min. And as you can see, subhanAllah, there's certain meanings that are not translated into the English language, which shows the importance of learning Arabic. Right? There's certain meanings that are not relayed via translation. The next rule, all right, this particular rule is a little long, but it's extremely important to explain. So we have here the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَالْأَرْضَ مَدَدَنَاهَا. And the earth, we have spread it out. If you take a look at the i'rab of this part of the verse, it says, وَالْأَرْضَ الْوَاوْ حَرْفُ عَطْفٍ وَالْأَرْض مَنْصُوب بِفِعْلِ مَحْذُوفٍ. Okay, وَالْأَرْض مَنْصُوب بفعل محذوف تقديره مددنا الأرض مددناها. All right. What does this mean? This is a grammar rule known as al-ishtighal. Al-ishtighal. In order to understand ishtighal, we have to understand how did we get to the point of ishtighal. طيب, stay with me. Let's take a look at a regular sentence. Akrim Zaydan. Akrim Zaydan. Honor Zayd. That's a regular sentence, right? Everything is correct. Akrim, right? Meaning fi'l amr. Right? تقدير أنت. Zaydan is the maf'ul bihi, صح? So this is correct. Simple. Now what we're going to do is place the maf'ul bihi before the verb. So we say Zaydan akrim. Zaydan akrim. We make taqdeem of the maf'ul bihi ala fi'l amr. Right? You brought it forth. Okay? This is still considered to be correct in Arabic language. Now, what happens after we brought forth the Zayd, let's say we wanted to add a dhamir to the verb. And we said, Zaydan akrimhu. Zaydan akrimhu. Akrim is a fi'l amr. Or it has to have one maf'ul bihi. Which of the two would be considered maf'ul bihi? What do you guys think? Right? This verb is muta'ad li maf'ulin wahidin. Okay? It's not li maf'ulain or li thalathi mafa'il. La. This verb is li maf'ul wahidin. Which of the two is the maf'ul bihi? Understand the issue here? Yani only one of these words can be considered the maf'ul bihi. What happens is that because the dhamir is attached to the verb, the dhamir is considered to be the maf'ul bihi for this verb. Okay, akrim. Right? The verb is affecting the attached pronoun. Dhamir muttasil. Now, what is happening to Zayd? What happens to Zayd now? He's all alone by himself. Right? Because the verb is busied. Yani, it's mushtagil. Bi dhamirin muttasilin. That's why it's called bab al-ishtighal. It's busied with one maf'ul bihi. And it can't work for both. What happens to Zayd? The verb cannot affect both words, so then what happens? What is affecting Zayd? This is the chapter ishtighal. طيب. Ibn Malik rahimahullah ta'ala says in his Alfiyah, إن مضمر اسم سابق فعلا شغل عنه بنصب لفظه أو المحل فالسابق انصبه بفعل أضمر حتما موافق لما قد أظهر. He says that whenever you're in this predicament, where the maf'ul bihi is mentioned, then the fi'l amr, and then the maf'ul bihi thanin is mentioned. What happens is that you have to add another verb before Zayd. You have to repeat the verb and place it before Zayd. So for example, intended is akrim. Bain al-qawsayn, the word between the parentheses, this is what has to be added. Okay, so what you're saying when you say Zaydan akrimhu, you're saying akrim Zaydan akrimhu. طيب, so that this verb has a maf'ul bihi, which is Zayd, and the second verb has a maf'ul bihi, which is the hu, with dhamma. All right, and this is from the bab of al-ishtighal. You guys understand this issue? And what is meant? The terminology you would use, for example, ma'mul awwal refers to Zayd, the maf'ul bihi awwal, okay, or ism mutaqaddam. All right. The second part of the amil refers to that affects other words. It's amil, and the words that are affected are the ma'mul. Amil in this case is the verb akrim, and then you have ma'mul thanin, which is the hu, the dhamir, right? Dhamir. Amil fi'l mutaakhir. صح? The terminology used for this is mashghul anhu. يعني this ism mutaqaddam. يعني Zayd, the ma'mul awwal, in this bab ishtighal will be referred to مشغول عنه. Okay, عنه بفتح العين. The verb أكرم is referred to مشغول, يعني it's the thing that's busy. And then the ضمير will be referred to as what? مشغول به. Okay, مشغول به. Yani it's the word that is making the verb busy with its i'rab. This bab ishtighal actually very detailed. It has details which we don't have time to expound on in this video, but inshallah ta'ala, if Allah makes it easy, we'll make a separate video regarding ishtighal along with its other instances. This is just one instance out of 5. There are 5 different instances of ishtighal. And each of these like terms, like mashghul anhu and mashghul bihi, they have their own conditions that must be fulfilled. Like mashghul anhu, there are 5 conditions. Mashghul, there's a condition, and mashghul bihi, there's 2 conditions. Okay, we don't have time to explain all that right now, inshallah ta'ala, but inshallah later. So now that we understand the rule, bab ishtighal, this gives us a better insight as to the i'rab of this verse. وَالْأَرْضَ مَدَدَنَاهَا. وَالْأَرْضَ مَدَدَنَاهَا. Where is the ma'mul awwal, or the mashghul anhu, in this verse? What is considered to be in this verse وَالْأَرْضَ مَدَدَنَاهُ مَعْمُولْ أَوَّلْ or مَشْغُولْ عَنْهُ? Al-Ard, good, right? What is the amil or the mashghul? The mashghul, the amil would be madadana. Madadana, the verb, the amil, the verb that, right? And the mashghul bihi or the ma'mul thanin would be the ha. Ha. طيب. So because this is min bab ishtighal, this is why the mu'rib here, he says what? Wal arda, meaning this first arda, mansubun bi fi'lin mahdhuf. Look, he says fi'lin mahdhuf. What is that fi'l mahdhuf? Madadana. This is the fi'l mahdhuf. Just like how you have akrim zaydan, akrimhu, madadana al-arda, madadanaha. طيب. Is that clear? And last but not least, in the section of Nahu, ألقينا فيها رواسي وأنبتنا فيها من كل زوج بهيج. This min, once again, is for emphasis. Min زائدة يعني للتوكيد. خيرا. This is the i'rab of the chapter. SubhanAllah bihamdihi. So let's begin with sarf. Jazakumullah khairan for everyone who is staying with us. May Allah reward you well. Make sure that you're constantly renewing your intentions. طيب. So right now we're moving on to the sarf portion of today's class. There's a few rules I'm going to point out. First, pertaining to the word sama, ila sama. There's a sarf rule being applied here. As we said earlier, sama is from the root letters Sin, Mim, and Waw. Okay, the Madin is Sama, Yasmu, Mudari', Usmu, Kaman, Sumuwan. What's another word? And the word obviously means to be high, elevated, lofty, raised, right? And that's why the Sama is called, like the sky is called that, because it's something that is elevated. Sah? But what's another word that shares the same root letters as Sama? Who knows? Fi'l mahdhuf means an omitted verb. Fi'l mahdhuf, omitted verb. A word that's similar to sama, that has the same exact root letters. Ism, good, ahsant. All right, ism, right? Think about ism samu as well, to denote highness. Now, as we mentioned before, when words share the same root letters, then they also share a meaning as well. You think about the connection between sumu, loftiness, being elevated, nobility as well, and ism, person's name is a form of honor. Right? We have a hadith collected by Imam Abu Dawood, in which Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Innakum tud'auna yawm al-qiyamati bi asma'ikum." Verily, you all will be called on the day of judgment by your names, wa asma'i aba'ikum, and by the names of your fathers. Fa ahsinu asma'akum. So therefore, give yourselves good names. He says, fa ahsinu, command, asma'akum, give yourself good names. The reason why he says here, give yourself good names, some of the explainers of this hadith, they say that the reason for this is because a person's name is their honor and dignity. Think about when someone who you respect, like a teacher, a mentor, maybe someone in a high position in dunya, like a president or whatever, governor, when they remember your name, how do you feel? When they call you by your name, they remember your name. Yani, you feel special, right? Because, wow, this person actually remembered my name. I feel honored. And that's what people say, that I feel honored. So when a person remembers your name, it's a form of honor. And when you look at the zalimun and the mujrimun, the criminals of the Atlantic slave trade, the Europeans, what they did when they took Africans from their continent and their countries, and they enslaved them and they brought them to the West. What is one of the first things they did to these slaves? They removed their names, right? They removed their names. It's a form of disgrace. Also, you think about the Holocaust. What did the Nazis do to the Jews? Yani, remove their names and gave them numbers to disrespect them, to remove their honor. You're not a person, you're a number. Likewise in jail, right? They give you a number. They take away any type of honor you may have by removing your name. Now you are a number. So names have a special place. Yani, it has the meaning of sumu, to be high, elevated, lofty. They even did with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Quraysh, they changed his name. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is known as Muhammad, right? They called him Mudhammam. Ham, yani Muhammad, the one who is praised. Mudhammam, the one who is dispraised. See how they changed his name? They said, Mudhamman abayna, wa deenahu qalayna, wa amrahu asayna. Subhanallah bihamdi. Yani, this praised one, we reject. And his way of life, we detest. And his command of Islam, we disobey. So we see that names, yani, there's a clear connection between ism and sumu, and also sama. Returning back to sama. Sama, the origin of sama is actually samawun, right? The waw should be there. The general rule is that whenever you conjugate a word to a different form, all of those root letters should be apparent. That's the general rule. But sometimes those root letters are changed. And this is what we study in Surah. Why do they change? What do they change into? Samawun is the original word. But then how does it change to sama'un with a hamza? This is known as al-i'lal fil hamza. Al-i'lal fil hamza. This is basically when the waw is the last root letter, like we have here, sin, mim, and waw, and it appears at the end of a word, and that it comes after the alif zaida, yani alif mamduda, then the waw will change into a hamza. This rule is also applied to words where the last root letter is ya. So it doesn't only apply to words where the waw is the last letter, but it also applies to words that have a ya as the last root letter. Like binayun, it should be binayun, but it changes to bina'un. Sawayun, it should be sawayun, but it changes to sawa'un. Understand? And this is al-i'lal fil hamza. And of course, we've taken sarf with us, where we studied shadha al-arf in Arabic 311. You'll learn about different i'lals as well. You have i'lal bin naql, you have i'lal bin taskeen, which is naql basically. You have i'lal bil hadf. All right. This is i'lal fil hamza. Does it make sense? The next sarf rule we have is tabsiratan. It's the masdar of basara. We mentioned that earlier, right? Tabsiratan is the masdar of basara. Basara. The masdar, the default masdar is tabsir, right? That's the qiyasi masdar. Just like how you have jarraba, the default is tajrib. Okay, but their other, their second masdar is in this form of tajriba, tabsira, taf'ila. They're on the scale of taf'ila. Okay, so then when is this form taf'ila used as the masdar? The form of taf'ila, tabsira, tajriba, occurs mostly in verbs on the scale of fa'ala that contain a hamza, at the end, fi'l mahmuz, or a weak letter, fi'l mu'tal. Like for example, jazza'a, right? It's on the scale of fa'ala. There's a hamza at the end. It's a fi'l mahmuz with a hamza at the end. And when we conjugate it into its masdar, we will say tajzi'atun. Tajzi'a. You guys see that? Taf'ila, tajzi'a. Also, watta'a becomes tawti'atun. Right? It's on the scale of fa'ala, watta'a. It's a fi'l mahmuz. There's a hamza there. So, one of the masdars is tawti'a. Next, you have when the last letter is mu'tal, right? It's a weak verb, weak verb. Like zakka, it's on a scale of, right, with the shadda, becomes tazkiya, and ghatta, taghtiya. All right? Taf'ila is used mostly with these scales, okay? As for taf'ila coming from or being applied to tabsira, and taf'ila being applied to tajriba, then they are few. You won't find many verbs where they're not mahmuz and they're not mu'tal, where they'll be conjugated to taf'ila. You guys understand that? Yes, so somebody asked, is it because it's heavy upon the tongue? Yeah, of course. Sarf, you'll find many rules where letters change because they make it easier to pronounce letters or words. All right, let's move to the last portion of the class, inshallah, the balagha, then we'll end the class. MashaAllah, we still have students here. The first balagha rule I want to point out is pertaining to the second verse where Allah says, عَجِبُوا أَنْ جَاءَهُمْ مُنذِرٌ مِّنْهُمْ فَقَالَ الْكَافِرُونَ هَذَا شَيْءٌ عَجِيبٌ. This balagha rule pertains or is regarding al-idhar wa idmar. These are two terms. Idhar referring to when a noun is mentioned where normally a pronoun would be used, and idmar is a pronoun that is used in place of a noun. Okay, so when an ism, a noun, is used in place of its dhamir, this is called idhar. When the dhamir is used in place of the ism, this is known as idmar. Khayra. So if we take a look at this verse, بَلْ عَجِبُوا أَنْ جَاءَهُمْ مُنذِرٌ مِّنْهُمْ فَقَالَ الْكَافِرُونَ. Where is idhar and where is idmar in this verse? Kafirun idhar, right? Good. Idmar, ajibu, the waw al-jama'a, right? The waw al-fa'il. This is the fa'il, right? What is the wisdom? Okay, so now that we identified the idhar and idmar, what is the wisdom behind beginning with idmar? Normally, a person would say, bal ajib, bal, right? They will mention the kafir first, okay, kafirun, and then the dhamir will be used to refer back to them. Tayyib. But here you see that idmar is mentioned first. So then what's the wisdom behind that? The answer is that the pronoun is used in the first word because through context, it's understood that the kuffar being referenced. So basically, if you, via context, the siyaq or maqam, it's understood who you're talking about. You don't necessarily have to mention that person's name or that ism, that noun. Okay, you can use a dhamir to refer back to that individual. This behavior of bewilderment is only observed by the kuffar. So there's no need to mention them by name. Yani, when Allah says ajibu, yani, the only people who are ajibu yani, in the message of Islam are the kuffar, without a doubt. Yani, istinkar, takdhib. They're only the kuffar. So there's no need to mention their name. طيب. So then why, second question, why is idhar used afterwards? Why not just use idmar once again if you understand who you're speaking about, if we understand that? Well, the answer is al-kafirun is mentioned as form of debasement and ascription to kufr and to remove any doubt about their position, right? And also, as we mentioned earlier, it's a form of qillah in terms of their low status, them being humiliated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, them being described as kafirun, right? You think about how do you feel when people insult you or call you a name? So then how would these people feel when Allah Rabbul Alameen calls them kafirun? Right? It debases them. It brings down their status. The next law rule we have here is إِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا. Oh, we already explained this, alhamdulillah. Yani the questions inkari. Right? They were not seeking a jawab, answer, a response. Then we have bal. Bal, yani here is intiqali, idrab intiqali. Yani moving from one topic to another. Moving from a topic that was considered to be an abomination, denial of resurrection, to a topic that is worse, denial of the haqq entirely, and denial of the messenger. Okay, so it's moving to a topic that is considered to be worse. It's a transition to a topic that is worse. طيب. So now that we, alhamdulillah, we had to do شيء من الاختصار لكن ما في مشكلة. All the recitation of this chapter and now reflect over its meanings. Now that we have some type of understanding, inshallah ta'ala.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والقرآن المجيد بل عجبوا أن جاءهم منذر منهم فقال الكافرون هذا شيء عجيب أإذا متنا وكنا ترابا ذلك رجع بعيد قد علمنا ما تنقص الأرض منهم وعندنا كتاب حفيظ بل كذبوا بالحق لما جاءهم فهم في أمر مريج أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء فوقهم كيف بنيناها أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء فوقهم كيف بنيناها وزيناها وما لها من فروج والأرض مددناها وألقينا فيها رواسي وأنبتنا فيها من كل زوج بهيج تبصرة وذكرى لكل عبد منيب.
Hopefully, students were able to benefit, inshallah ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us understanding of His book. We ask Allah azza wa jalla to make this sitting a proof for us and not against us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this deed from us all. Whatever that was correct, then it's only from Allah azza wa jalla, and whatever that was incorrect, then it's only from my ignorance and from the whispers of shaitan, and Allah is free from it. Subhanakallahumma ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullahu khaira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.